This is a pretty long video. Not super long, but it's long enough. So strap yourselves in for lots of content, because this is John Doyle with his new video exposing the suppressed truth about individualism and collectivism. Right? Did we already do this one? Or did we not? Uh-oh. Did we actually already do this one? Fuck. We did. We did actually do this one, guys. But I didn't do this one, so I'll do this one. Yeah, we did do that one. As soon as I read it, someone submitted it today, and it didn't look familiar, but this one doesn't look familiar. He does suck. Do you guys like John Doyle? I'm just going to reintroduce this. Do you guys like John Doyle? Of course you don't. Nobody likes John Doyle. His own parents don't like John Doyle. That's why he moved all the way from Michigan and down to Texas, because his parents were like, "Get the fuck out, John. We're tired of you. You're just a really shitty person that talks fast, and you're a sandwich artist at Subway, and you're not even that good at it, to be totally honest. I don't like it." But John blazed his own path, okay? John said, "I'm going to go to the Great South. I'm going to go to Texas, where there's no state tax, and you just get taxed through having to use like the roadways and shit, where it's like everything's a toll and everything's really prohibitively expensive. Welcome to not having an electrical grid that works, because we don't we take a lot of shortcuts. Welcome to the state where if anything bad happens, your senators are just going to leave and go on vacation. Welcome to Texas." So he made a video called "Should You Still Join the Military?" And we're going to see if John thinks that we should still join the military. Let's see. What do you think?
Understand that if active duty military actually get deployed within the United States, that weapon is not just pointed at other people, other countries. It's pointed at you. If you do not get in your house when I tell you to, you become the enemy. Martial law.
That sounds shitty to me. I'm not a fan of governments doing that stuff. You know what I mean? Because I'm a leftist.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Heck Off Commie.
Welcome.
What you just saw there was a video of a female member of our military sharing with total impunity her bloodlust fantasies about gunning down American citizens.
Don't you have bloodlust fantasies about gunning down fascist governments?
And you can dress it up any way you want to, but that's what that was. Like, that's why she posted it. She didn't want to explain martial law. She wasn't trying to give people a heads up or something. No, she was getting off on public displays of her self-perceived power over people like you. So we're going to analyze this for a little bit.
Well, yeah. Isn't that exactly what we say about police officers, John? On the left? Pretty interesting.
Before diving into what we really have to talk about, which is whether it's still a good idea to join the military. Because you look at this woman, and she truly has the phenotype of the overbearing, scorned, androgynously feminine, power-thirsty woman. You can see it in her face, you hear it in her voice, and our military is increasingly being filled with people like that, and increasingly purged of normal American patriots, and that could potentially lead to...
Why don't you join the military, John? I think this is really the way to go. I think, John, hang it up and join the military, bro. Why don't you do it? You're a big boy, right? Walk the walk, John. Join the military, bruh. Stone, thanks for the 100 biddies. The lady was explaining why martial law would entail people who were hoping Donald Trump would come back and establish martial law. The military actually made her take it down. So this was in response to Donald Trump at the time, because this was over the summer. This was in August. This was when Donald Trump people were like, he's going to come back, and lots of the Democrats are going to go to prison. The Kraken will be released. Fartolomule, thanks for the 50 biddies. She was not getting off on power. She was giving the big tall glass of shut up juice. Stinky Boosh, thanks for the prime. Does anyone have that TikTok in its entirety instead of the clip he showed? Like, is more context from that clip specifically? Does it paint the military in a better light? Because we've always said this on this here channel. Anyone who wants to fight the fucking American military or the government is a big dum-dum. It doesn't make any sense to do that. More people will get hurt that you support than anything else.
catastrophe for obvious reasons, because as our libertarian friends will remind us, the state has a total monopoly on violence, which is true.
She was basically saying you don't want martial law. Yeah.
True. So what's going to happen when the state, which is already hostile quite openly towards people like us, what's going to happen when the enforcement of that state, the military, is predominantly occupied by people who are equally, if not even more hostile towards people like us? What's that going to look like? I'll tell you this, and we all know it's true. I've never met someone who looked like that, who was not mentally and spiritually ill.
Mentally and spiritually ill.
People like that woman are basically amoral. They've been traumatized. They have a lot of hatred within themselves towards the people they perceive to be evil, namely white men.
What the fuck is he saying? What? Why is he so weird like this? Why is he armchair psychology this shit? I love how he has such main character syndrome, bro. He thinks that he has like the most Dunning-Kruger I've ever seen in my whole life. Like John Doyle definitely, he was like that guy when he worked at Subway. He was like, I just don't understand why I'm not a manager. I'm the best one here. You know, I do everything. I'm the smartest. I'm the fastest. I come in on time. And they're like, dude, you're not going to be a key holder. You're a sandwich artist. Stay in your lane, John. And by the way, I used to work at McDonald's. There's a lot of dudes like that. There's a whole lot of. I worked there and I worked at Culver's at one point in my life, which is more of a Midwestern thing. But yeah, you're just a fucking cog in the machine, John. All right. And Subway sucks.
Because of daddy issues, poor experiences with boyfriends, etc. And that's even before we take into account that these people have been spoon-fed state-sponsored propaganda against America, against American patriots, etc. for virtually their entire lives. And people like her are literally just waiting for the green light. You can see it in her face.
You can see the green light in her, which, again, I'm pretty sure she was talking about you don't want that, right?
She knows that martial law would never be declared to serve the interests of American patriots. She knows that if it were declared, it would be to target American patriots. It would be at the expense of American patriots. And that's what she's fantasizing about. There's nothing more dangerous than bitter feminine energy in a position of power. There's nothing more dangerous than that because it is entirely driven and governed.
Dangerous to who, John? Right-wingers don't have mental problems, huh, Jake? They just project themselves all on the lefties. Yeah. Dude, right-wingers clearly need therapy, dude. Like, everyone needs therapy, don't get me wrong. Like, and there's lots of people on the left that need a fair share of their own therapy to not be such shitty people. But let's be real. Right-wingers, on average, are usually pretty dog shit human beings with very little empathy, and they don't really, like, absorb, like their own problems. They don't really synthesize that, oh, I'm the one with the problem here, and I need to adjust. It's not usually the case. They're conservatives in a lot of ways, and definitely when it comes to how their day-to-day life is, they're not going to admit when they're wrong about stuff. Whereas lefties, part of the reason we're so politically hard to, unify, like we have a hard time, the left does unifying, is because we're very critical of ideas and stuff. But the right is just like, what's the idea today, guys? Oh, Donald Trump is going to be President King and JFK Jr. is coming back from the dead? Fuck it. Let's do that. And then they do that. You know what I mean? When the rest of us are just like, we're critical of each other and we think, well, that's a fucking terrible idea, comrade. You know what I mean? Oh, you want to have re-education camps for capitalists? Wow, that's a little fucking stupid. But I think that makes us a better society, personally. I think the rigorous nature by which the left tends to disagree is a good thing. I don't think leftist infighting is a bad thing. I think the two-party system in America makes leftist infighting not optimal for trying to have political success. Raven, thank you so much for the 9 months. Yeah, lots of fascist prop on good old Tucker Carlson's. Absolutely. The minute someone tries to label themselves as a patriot, it immediately becomes suspicious of them. Exactly.
Governed by emotional processes that are unstable and impulsive. And if she's convinced that you're the reason that she's miserable, she'll just be looking for permission to kill you. And I know we're probably thinking right now, like, good luck, come and take it. I get that. I'm not saying that she's actually a threat.
Good luck, come and take it. How is that not the exact same, like mentality that he's saying is bad? He is saying that, like, fantasizing about killing people is a bad thing, and then John agrees that, like, yeah, fuck it, come and take it, is like a common retort to that, which is still the same thing, just without the governmental backing of it, right?
or competence or anything like that. I'm just saying what worries me is how many of these types of people you're not seeing, how they can act with impunity, how the rhetoric of the state and its military are approaching where they would need to be for something really bad to happen to people like us. That's the point of this. Am I scared of some bitchin' fatigues? No. But what does scare me is an army of mentally ill people, because there's no way to reason with them.
An army of mentally ill people? Bro, you're mentally ill. We need John clearly has several complexes around the idea that he has to come across as like really smart. You know what I mean? Like, he doesn't have humility. Like, there's not a situation where he would be humbled openly about a thing, right? Because he's very stubborn like that. That's a mental health issue. You need to get that work done. Like, everyone has mental health issues. Zealous, thanks for the 3 months. Riding that corn high for a year now, boy. Hell yeah. Cheers. Have some Dr. Pepper zero sugar cream sodas. But even so, like, the idea that by the way, this is fucking cringe still. This is just the cringest. Good luck convincing him of that. Well, I mean, he should really just go to therapy. You could find out that, like, you need a lot of stuff. Watch Ted Lasso. Both seasons are out on Apple Plus. Very great program. There you go. That's a cheaper version of therapy.
They need to believe what daddy government says about people like us. They need to project their own misery onto people like us. These people are the victims of a society that has been purposefully engineered to breed despair and anxiety as a means to orchestrate mass submission to the established power structures by the masses, who require those power structures because they believe them to be necessary to their survival and any chance of relative stability. And the ones who are particularly miserable and brainwashed would not for a second hesitate to open fire on people like us.
When they decided to put the Dr. Pepper and cream soda together, that was for me. They did it for me. Hell yeah, Raven. Literally just Uno reverse. Yeah, I know. He's just like, no, but we're gonna do that
for a second. And I doubt there would be any consequences either, because the higher-ups share the same contempt, but they can't be seen pulling the trigger. The same way that Antifa and Black Lives Matter assault and murder American patriots and nothing is done about it. No arrests are made, no federal police involvement.
What?
The mainstream media runs defense for them. The Democrats in Congress run defense for them.
You know all those Black Lives Matter and Antifa murders that happened? You know those ones that happened? Name them. Which Antifa Black Lives Matter murders occurred? There was a guy? I don't remember. People like us, meaning, oh, you know what he means. Come on. The one that happened where he got assassinated after. Don't know that one. Pretty wild stuff. Fear-mongering, dude. Classic fashy stuff. By the way, leftists don't want the government in their bullshit, for the record. I know that he thinks leftists want, like, really big government because big daddy government pays for stuff. It's not about them being part of your life. It's about the government apparatus passively supplying basic living things. Like, you don't need the government heavily involved in decommodification of produce, for instance. You don't need the government heavily involved in, like, the day-to-day lives of Americans in regards to education. You know what I mean? You just need them to fund it. You need them to be part of the apparatus that funds it, because collectively we can do a lot of really good things and provide things for the country. Same thing with healthcare. The doctors and the administrators on those levels will no longer be going after capital, but they'll be going after healthcare, and that's a good thing, and it will become more streamlined and thus cheaper, because you will have no incentive to make someone take, unnecessary tests, but also you'll be more prone to be able to prescribe certain things for people that do need lots of tests or lots of medication or something like that. So there's no prohibitive nature one way or the other, depending on your influences, right? So it can just be straight up ethics. What drives healthcare? Ethics, and that's what it should always be. Same thing with decommodification of, say, housing. You need the government to provide the stability of that. You need the government to to set standards and make sure that landlords, they'd be land stewards in my supply or I guess my America. But there was a guy that was shot and murdered by police. Yeah, that happens. It's almost like we don't want the violence arm of the government to be uneducated community college 2-year people that just have a fetish for guns being police officers. Maybe we should have qualified adults with good quality mental health be the police. It's just saying. Maybe we should do that.
Well, they're not actually a group. They're just an idea. Why is that? Because they're glad it's happening, but they can't be the ones to do it.
Dude,
so the last thing I want to say before I start telling you what I've learned about the military, since speaking with a bunch of you guys who are currently who have served before over the last few weeks, is that the reason I say this is because a lot of us are probably thinking, well, these people are in the minority. The military is still our guys. They're not going to turn against us. And I get that. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen. I am simply sharing my observations. But I realized something pretty chilling recently, which is that you hear all this rhetoric from the left about America, our democracy, us. And I've always thought, like, who's this us you're talking about? Like, what?
All the citizens.
I just brush it off as like PR strategy. Like, you know how candidates always say, when I win instead of if I win? Like, the rhetoric is self-affirming. But then I realized that it's actually 100% true if you hear it as predicated on all political dissent completely gone.
What? That's not what we mean. What is he talking about? Why doesn't he just ask? Just ask me, John. What does the left mean when they say all of us in our democracy and stuff? I mean collectively, us as American human beings, we live here together. We do. We live here together. And so wouldn't it be dope if we lived here together and tried to accomplish certain things like maintaining the democracy that you say that you care about so much? For instance, with the Trump shit, right? We won that because Trump lost. Dude, it still feels like there's a hair on my nose. But Like that's what we mean. We don't mean no political dissent. I'm pretty confident we'll have political dissent forever. You know what I mean? There's not going to be a situation where political dissent just goes away. We're going to have disagreements. That's okay. That's understandable. It's the types of disagreements that we want to resolve, right? Like the understanding that like maybe racism is bad and we should teach it so that we don't do it anymore. You know what I mean? Maybe we should teach about the bad stuff. Maybe we should understand that like there's certain sciences that maybe socially you're not ready for. Trans people are a great example of this. The science of trans people's valid existence is in. Like, there's not debate about it anywhere. It's just about the social recourse with it. And, trans people are winning and becoming more open. And it's much easier today than it was 5 years ago to come out as trans, right? And that's great because that's what we want. Like, why fight this shit? Like, you're not talking about like actually preserving anything. You're not conserving anything. You're just harming people. Like when you just conserve language, trans people have always existed. They just felt the need socially to be pulled back and hidden because of your fucking reaction to it. That's the old thing. Same thing with things like gay marriage was a thing. All the social ills, but like something like healthcare. It's just about you understanding that corporations shouldn't be able to commodify American health. That's the whole thing. The whole thing is just companies should not commodify your body's health. You should be able to get your body healthy with only ethics involved, with only healthcare professionals being involved and no monetary gate between your health. Like we don't need to do that anymore. This isn't fucking fiefdom. We're America. We're the best country in the whole world. So let's fucking be it. Let's just be it. Let's show you and check you called Good Lord Bird on Showtime. Ethan Hawke plays. Oh, I saw that. I haven't watched it, but I've seen that it exists. I've heard it's good.
Whether that's silenced, censored, or in those places that they've sent people like us every other time they've taken power, I really can't stress that enough. If it's happened every other time, why would it not happen this time? They're purging the military of patriots, of people who are against the regime, the same way that they've done throughout history. You want the military to be loyal to your regime and destroy those who aren't? Okay, purge it. They know what they're doing. Have you soiled yourself yet? Do you need new underwear? I'm actually excited for this product mode because we actually have a new product today.
Wow, cool, man. I'm going to skip your underwear commercial. Yep, I'm going to skip it.
or your money back. GetUnderTact.com. Offer code Doyle. Very
adult
epic. So,
diapers for your. Hey, if you're a big fan of John Doyle, you can get diapers. Okay, you can get your John Doyle diapers.
question at hand, should you still join the military? I say still because I presume that we've all explored that possibility at some point or another.
Join
Especially
it,
because,
John.
You know, we love our country. Most
Do
of us
it.
are guys. And the idea of being in the military is basically about as appealing as it can get. Like, you're a warrior. You're defending your country with the boys. It's epic. It's exciting.
Is it? Is it, John? Go do it. It's weird that he's making a you shouldn't join the military.
That's the idea of it,
Video.
but unfortunately,
Let's see.
it's not that simple anymore. Maybe it never was, but especially not in recent history, the last 12 years or so in particular. So you might remember a few videos ago, I made a comment, which
So
admittedly was
cringy, dude,
impulsive,
yeah.
that you should not join the military. And after that, a bunch of people reached out to me to talk to me about it, let me know what their experiences with it have been. So I'd like to retract that now, the rare John Doyle retraction, to tell you that I've decided
Oh, but this retraction is because the people that pay you money disagreed with you, and you have no fucking spine.
to be very comfortable perched on the fence, because I don't know. I don't know. It depends on your own personal value hierarchy. But
Christ.
the first thing I want to say is that if you want to join the military,
Some people can't control their boom booms. That's true. One surefire way to kill the mood in the bedroom: wear John Doyle underwear.
mostly because you want to serve your country
Sexy.
and be a hero to your country. And there are lots of reasons
Go be a
that
hero,
people
bro.
join, but that's probably the most common and honorable, I think. I will say that political heroes are just as real as military heroes. They're often the same. In terms of like cumulative service to the country, I would say at this
Let's do
point,
it, man.
somebody who can break into the system and positively change it in any capacity is a hero. It's a completely
Does he think? John literally thinks that's him, doesn't he? Does John think that he's on a hero arc? Damn, dude. He really fucking does. Hilarious.
completely different battle, but a battle nonetheless, and frankly, one that's more important to the country than fighting in the sand.
Oh, he's on the more important fight. That's why he's not going to join the military. That makes sense.
So if you want to serve your country, you're smart, you're capable, I would say we need people like you involved in politics more than the military at this point, to be honest. And there's pros and cons to each. Like, the average soldier is more heroic and more of a service to his country than the average political figure, by far. But that being said, we really need that handful of figures to rise up in politics and take this country back and be in charge of that military and use it for good for the national defense and sovereignty instead of guarding poppy fields in Afghanistan. And that's the problem. Like, if we wanted to take over
It's interesting. When did Joe Biden pull out of Afghanistan? When did the U.S. pull out of Afghanistan? When was that? February through... So this came out the day after. This came out the day after we stopped being in the poppy fields. So I imagine that he... You know, because right there, I imagine that he was editing this while that was happening, and he didn't know, like, he didn't have the hindsight of like the right is gonna get real mad about this because Biden did it, huh?
these
If you
countries.
go to a FedEx Kinko's and some kid politely asks you to put a mask on and get us to agree that you literally put a stain in your pants, then you have to then I have a product for you, John Doyle pants.
We could.
His-
If we wanted to glass
his
them, we could, but we
diapers.
don't. We want a nation build because, as we talked about
Did he say we want to glass them? Jesus fucking Christ! What a baby mouth.
in the last video, the ruling class in this country wants international enforced liberalism. So I guess the first thing to know about is what's referred to as the big green weenie, which is that everybody, no matter what, is going to get screwed over by the military in some capacity. It is inescapable. I heard a story about a guy who wanted to be military police. They said, okay, sign here. He says, okay. They say, actually, no, you're infantry, but we're keeping you for those extra 3 years you signed on for to be military police, even though you're infantry now. And he's just screwed. So just know that you cannot avoid the big green weenie. It is inevitable. That's just one story I heard, but it can be all sorts of different things. The bottom line being that you are going to get screwed at some point. The second thing to know is that the fact that the wars that we're involved in aren't really important or for good cause or about defending American freedom, that really doesn't even matter, which is actually a good thing, because the reason it doesn't matter is because 90% of the enlisted guys just want to fight. They don't care who, they just want to fight. If the higher-ups declared war on France, they'd be spray painting equipment, getting ready for the Battle of Bordeaux, right? That's actually kind of a good thing, because you really just want that warrior spirit in your military, following orders, no questions
Your
asked.
warrior
that kind of mentality. But
spirit.
our problem is that the orders are coming from people who work for Satan. So it gets
Come the fuck on. Come on. Stop. Jonathan Doyle, did you just say that Satan is ordering our military members around? Satan, specifically? God fucking damn it, bro. John. That's just about the funniest goddamn shit you could have said, huh? Like, of all the answers, who's actually behind the orders of the military? Could have said the deep state. Could have said fucking, I don't know, George Soros. Could have had the lizard people, Hillary, fucking the Clintons. They still have people in the White House. Satan. It's fucking dope, man. All right. Satan military, kind of cool. That's Blood War shit, dude. The devils versus the demons, the 9 hells versus the abyss. Let's fucking go, dude.
It's a bit sticky there, but yeah, these guys have told me that they've never even met one person who gives a damn about nation building. So in the enlisted class, about 2/3 of these guys are joining because they love their country, because of their heritage. A lot of these guys come from military families, and that's something that isn't really discussed too often, but there is something to be said about the epigenetics of the soldier, like how even knights were the sons of knights, etc. Like the people who come from military families literally are built different. They want to fight. It is ingrained in them. And the good news is that 80 to 90% of these guys are instinctively or just straight up right wing, like they're fantasizing about being deployed against Antifa, stuff like that.
What? Wait, why is that a good thing? Wait. He just said at the beginning of the video that military members using their violence as a monopoly to spray down citizens is a bad thing. Unless it's Antifa.
But that being said, they're not very socially conservative. It's kind of that, like conservatarian warrior class, which is to be expected.
Where's he getting these numbers from? No. He's not getting the numbers from anywhere. Plenty of the people join for a job. Yeah, lots of people join because they're impoverished. Definitely.
I don't have an issue with that. You wouldn't call a Viking a degenerate for getting really drunk and having sex with a bunch of women after conquering a village because he's a Viking.
Sex. Having sex with a lot of women. That's an interesting word to use. Huh. Slow dogs, the 100 biddies yelling because steel weapons are expensive and knights were a hereditary affluent class. Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's always been, this kind of thing has always been separated by class. Like yeomen were things. Like citizen soldiers in fiefdoms were things. You'd be forced to defend, and they would be given fucking like you've seen it. They'd be given sticks and shit, fucking pitchforks and leather and silly little hats and bows and arrows if they could shoot. Like, come on, dude. And then there was knights. Knights weren't the fucking military force. They were part of it. Anyway, he doesn't know stuff. It's fine.
And he would collapse your skull. So, hey, no judgment from this guy. Judgment-free zone. Planet Fitness mode. Good work, soldier. But the officer culture is much different. These guys are going to college. They're getting indoctrinated. They're not like far left radicals, but they're pretty liberal. Like they'll complain about the South being too racist. And it's like, bro, we're at Fort Bragg. This is not even the South yet.
It's so interesting to me the way that he is sort of sucking off the military, but not the ones that are educated in the military. Huh. Maybe he hates the military because it's communism. It's definitely a little bit of communism. That's for goddamn sure. He's a big tough guy. I'd like to hear him say that in front of who he thinks his fans are, with the officers in front of them. You know what I mean? Think he would? I don't think he fucking would. I'd love to see John go to the military.
And a lot of the officer types know that they can use that to transition into business or politics or something like that because it looks good on their resume. And if you look at those types of people who advertise their military background, very rarely were they enlisted. They're almost always officers. And it's also worth noting, too, that the Navy and the Air Force at this point are effectively jobs training programs. But really the best part of the military, I've been told, is the fraternity, the relationships that you form with the other guys, the experiences that you share. It's something you'll never forget and that you'll cherish, even though it sucks for the most part. And that's the operative goal of the regime. They want to discourage people who care about this country from joining or staying in the military. And so they're trying to clamp down on the ability of men to have that fraternal experience.
What? Why is he? What? He's worried about the fraternal experience of military members? I don't think any military member is like, oh yeah, the fraternal experience was bad. You know what I mean? Usually it's if they had a bad experience with the military, it's because there were certain groups of military people that really abused their power and often were fucking abusers and shit.
They've brought women in, so it's no longer an all-male sphere, which is really important for facilitating male cooperation in relationships since we get distracted by women. And also, there are just certain things that men did
Can't have women there, dude.
that women did not like, and now they aren't done anymore. One example I heard about was your blood wings. When you would graduate from airborne school in the United States military, they would take the badge and they stick the pin into your skin and they just drive it into your chest. And I've heard that you'll probably have that scar for most of your life, but it's a badge of honor. It's a rite of passage. It is important. But
It's important.
the higher-ups don't get it. That's hazing. That's wrong. So they clamped down on it. Women didn't want to do it. Or even popping tops. If your superior is giving you a hard time, you say, hey, you want to pop tops? What that means is let's both take off our tops with our ranks on them so we're equal, and then we'll try to beat the hell out of each other. Oh, but they clamp down on things like that. It's hazing. Everything is much more stringent now. And these are just further...
Wait, why does he think... That's what he thinks of the fraternal... John. Okay, I think between John and I, only one of us was in jock culture. It was me. I played basketball and football, and I was a big time jock boy. These things aren't like really encouraged in jock spaces as much. Like, if two people fight, that's not usually a good thing, unless it's one person was clearly wrong, right? You don't want your captain of the football team fighting some other dude. Now, this kind of shit happens for sure, but like, this is not like normal man behavior, even in the most toxic spaces, which definitely jock culture in locker room culture is pretty fucking toxic. But like, that's just not how people operate, dude. It really isn't. John's a huge I didn't make the team energy. Yeah, I mean, he really doesn't, like, you haven't been in any of these spaces, John. It's so weird that he has the confidence to fucking say, like, yeah, actually, Pop Tops didn't happen when I was in the Marines, and that was 15 years ago. Well, Vork Void. Obviously, you don't know what you're talking about. John knows what he's talking about, okay? He saw it in a movie. We used to do this at the frat house with frat pins and floor time, but I don't fly no more. Yeah, male violence is not a thing we need to do. In fact, I remember specifically being in high school, and I was one of the jocks, and they were doing that thing where you remember on the lunch table, if you're not a guy, I don't know if you remember this, specifically a cis guy, because we're a different breed of dumb. So they would take like a quarter and put it under their thumb like this, and then they'd slide it along the table to make it really fast across the table, and you'd put your knuckles down in front of it, and the quarter would slam into your knuckles. And the idea was that you don't want to be a little bitch that thinks that the quarter hurts against your knuckles, so you got to stay last. So some dudes would have fucking scars all over their fingers because they would play the fucking quarter game, and whoever won was like a badass or something. That's what they would do for fun. And I remember dudes being like, let's go behind the smoke pit. I remember dudes being like, "You're fucking pussy." I'm like, "All right, cool." And then I walked away. That's it. It's the whole thing. And then I'm the badass, not them. You have bloody knuckles, bro. Mine are fine. Yeah, I'm not interested in that. It was called Bloody Knuckles. Yeah, I don't remember. Yeah, it was called Bloody Knuckles, but why does so many of these guys look like I could punch them and they cry? Because they would, dude. There's an importance in doing pecking order shit, but at what cost? There's not an importance to doing pecking order shit. There isn't. That's just toxic man brain, dude. You gotta just chill out. You gotta be like, yeah, there really isn't an importance to finding out your pecking order. That's some I word shit, bro. That's some like, I got a weak chin, no woman would ever love me energy, dude. Yeah, I disagree about that. Or maybe I'm just at the top of the fucking pecking order. And I don't bother myself with your kind of brainworms about that shit. Men are fucking strange, insecure babies. Seriously, I am surrounded by insecure babies. I feel like the only man, and I know I'm not. I know there's lots of good ones out there, but goddamn, bro, pecking order, fucking Christ. Weird shit. You used to take rubber bands and wrap staples around it and let people snap it on my hand, partly shut up bullies without having to fight them. Yeah, that's weird. That's weird behavior. That's some cope shit. But, like, at least you understand that that's weird shit. Men are the most emotional, too. Well, it's because we don't express ourselves. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, there's a lot of problems with men, and a lot of it has to do with the fact that people don't listen to them. You know what I mean? Even though, and that's interesting. They don't listen to them about specific things. They listen to them about other stuff. Like, we have authority, but it's like, you know, obviously that's changing, which is making men freak out. But, like guys can't really express emotional trauma, for instance, or they're called pussies and shit like that. Because there's other men that have emotional trauma and they're called pussies. Kind of because of, like, military culture and part of that, too. Like, badass culture. Oh, I'm a badass. Like, all of it bleeds into itself. And so, like say, for instance, and this is getting a lot better now, obviously. Definitely in certain communities, specifically left-wing communities. But, like, now men can, like, have emotions and talk about it, and it's a little bit more reasonable to be healthy about it. And like I said, all my modern guy friends, like right now, the people I'm closest to in real life that are dudes are, really healthy, talk about their feelings kinds of guys. And, like, a lot of validation happens, and it's an interesting space to be in. I've talked about it before. It wasn't always like that, but it changed over time. And I think being a man, it has certain expectations in regards to your stoic abilities. It's wannabe military culture. Well, it's both. So we come from generations of Americans that went through World War I, World War II, the Korean War, the Vietnam War, the Gulf War, the Cold War, I guess the Cold War, then the Gulf War, and then Afghanistan and Iraq. And we don't have public health care. We don't have any, like, we don't have a very robust social network, or social net, I guess. We commodify fucking everything. It's a capitalist hellscape, and we don't emphasize mental health care at all. It's not surprising that we have generations of people that are fucked from this, especially when you come from the fact that, like, we also came off the like slavery and shit. So you have this baked in racism, it's just wild shit. We have a lot of problems systemically that would be fixed by simply acknowledging them and talking about them and understanding that people are valid. Like, men grow up with a lot of, like, anger. Men are told that they shouldn't feel sad. They're told that they shouldn't feel, like, second. You always want to be first. You always want to be alpha. You want to be alpha boy. And so anytime you feel slighted, like, for instance, rejection for a man, a lot of men can't fucking handle that shit. Rejection is wild. And you can see, even the confident boys, if they get rejected, they'll be like, "You're a stupid fat bitch. Fucking ugly." You know what I mean? Like, what do you mean? You were trying to fuck 2 seconds ago, bro. What are you trying to save face for? It's a private conversation. No one has to know about this. But you just can't handle it, right? It's just wild stuff. Like, men are huge problems. Like, I don't know. And men have huge problems, and it's perpetuated by men, but it's also perpetuated by people that aren't men. Like, lots of things happen to men in general that are perpetuated by women, for instance. And of course, this is the sort of, gender is obviously more complex than that, but we'll call it that. There's some aspects like in some parts of the culture in America where it's like, men are supposed to do X or Y. You know what I mean? Like, no, that's the point. Like the sort of everything is baked in altogether. Like this is why intersectional feminism is a good thing. It's about everybody. It's not just about women's equity. It is about that, but it isn't just about that. It's about everybody's equity, because everybody has to find equity for women to find equity, right? That's how equity works. And so, we have a lot of issues to talk about, which is why we like to talk about this kind of shit. Would you get super upset if you got crossed up in b-ball? No. Basketball is such a fast-paced sport. If you get upset at every time you fail in basketball, you're going to be a sad little baby boy crying on the sidelines not playing the game. That's why basketball is good. This is why I think people should play sports in general. People need to learn how to be competitive healthily, and people need to learn how to lose healthily and how to win healthily in ways that aren't toxic. You can get excited, you can talk shit, and you can get competitive and stuff, but like, after it's all over, it's not about sportsmanship, it's about toxicity in general. Like, learn to lose, dude. There's so many people that can't lose at video games and they throw their controllers and shit and have rage problems. Calm the fuck down. You're weird. If you've broken a controller because you lost at something, reflect. Please reflect. Somebody nutmegs you? Bro, I've nutmegged people. I've probably been nutmegged a couple times. By the way, nutmegged is when you throw the ball in between their legs. But no, I was pretty good. I remember a couple times I made dudes fall down because they didn't know I had a behind the back move because I don't look like I have a behind the back move, and so they went for the ball and I go to the other side. I remember you would get a few O's. I wish I could have dunked though. I was just too short and not athletic enough. 5'10", not quite there. Anyway, unless you're in the NFL, true. Anyway, let's keep going with John. He doesn't know anything about being a man, which is really fucking weird. Break down ankles. I was more about the fadeaway shot, dude. I had a good shot that it was really hard to block, dude. I was really good at that. Broken controller, not anger issues. I blame lag. Dude, if you've broken a controller because you were lagging and you slammed it, that's an issue you need to reflect on. I used to break controllers, now I'm zen about it, so I'm just happy they won. Good. Why didn't Jake just learn to be 6'7"? I could almost dunk. I just couldn't. I was right there. I could touch the rim and grab it and shit. I just couldn't get the ball over. I was right there. I should have tried more. I didn't really think about it, but it would have felt nice to just hammer one home. But I mean, I've dunked on like 9.5 foot rims and down, so which does feel good, but it's not the 10. It's not the 10-foot dunk, Like you can be frustrated and show emotion during these things. That's nothing to reflect about. It's how much you carry, right? It's how much you carry these different frustrations in your life, right? That's the point that we need to like really get around. Like, you can be excited about shit. I'm excited about shit all the time. Like last night I was watching the Pistons game, and it was a close game until the fourth quarter. And the Pistons were playing the Miami Heat, which is a really fucking great team, and they were actually in the lead for a while, but they're down a lot of dudes, and they're not that good right now. They're young. And anyway, so I was like, woo! Like when shit would go well, and I'd be like, fuck, when shit goes bad. But like, it didn't bother me after they lost. I don't give a shit at all. Like, in the moment, you can be excited about shit. You can be jazzed up. You can be upset. You can give some effort. You know what I mean? Emotions are good things, especially in a competitive setting. Those are good things, but it's about how much you let that shit get to you. Like, especially if it's like a fucking video game, right? Just be better next time. No, the game didn't specifically fuck you. Sometimes, rarely that happens. But let's be real. You're just not better than the other person. Simply get better. How about that? Twitch politics is depressing me. Sorry, Viv. You can get hugs, chat. Chat, can we get hugs from McVivian? Give some cobbies in chat, and then we'll move on to John Doyle. Pretty zen about everything except good chili. Well, again, emotions are good things. It's about how you ride those emotions. You know what I mean? Men can have emotions. In fact, this is kind of what it's about. Have your emotions, but like the emotions that we do have don't need to be taken out on other people. They can be talked about and discussed and worked through, and there's so many ways to healthily cope with shit like this. Simply understand that you may just not be better than somebody else, and that's okay. And you're probably better than a lot of other people. You know what I mean? It's not a competition. It really isn't. And I know that our society sort of pits us against one another. I mean, from a systemic standpoint, right? Like, she straight up... I was going to say she straight up. I was reading. It straight up, like... Every day you're pitted against citizens in capitalism, in products, in fucking, all sorts of things. Social media, like, so I understand why you can feel competitive all the time, but it's not what it's about.
attempts to destroy that male sphere, that warrior culture. So
Warrior
I've
culture.
been told that you can try to get out of it what you can, but rest assured that it is dying
And on Aaron, thanks for the 14 months.
in terms of that experience and fraternity, and that, while it's hard to completely kill it forever, it's definitely dying. So here's basically the problem for me. If the fraternity is dying, you can get it elsewhere. The wars are pointless.
That sounds
Everybody knows
awful.
they're gay. Everybody knows it's about bolstering these people's
That is my nightmare. I don't want to be in an outhouse with a bunch of people. That sounds awful. I would get so claustrophobic.
political careers. Quick conflict, showing off, taking them out, making them look good, then
That made me
pulling out.
uncomfortable.
New group shows up. Let's go get them. Like, even we're leaving Afghanistan now, but then we've got the new OS on the Taliban. Let's go get them. Even though the people we were supporting in Afghanistan were morally reprehensible too. Like, the Taliban at least ended Shy Boys, which was sexual slavery and prostitution between older men and young boys. And every soldier over there talks about seeing guys having sex with goats, raping boys, and they're supposed to be on our side. These are the guys who are going to respond well to liberal democracy because women weren't allowed to leave the house. It's literally impossible.
So he thinks the Taliban is better than not the Taliban because there is people fucking goats. Okay. Does he think that the goat fucking just stops? Because I guarantee you people are still trying to fuck some goats. You know what I mean? That's still happening.
And even the training you can get elsewhere. Like, I had a guy tell me that he could teach a militia everything he learned in the military in about 2 or 3 weeks, which sounds ambitious to me, but I wouldn't know, so I'm just going to take his word for it. But on the other hand, I'm very worried about a military that is fully staffed and politically on the side of our enemies. So then it's like, is that even possible? Because like we said, the infantry is almost totally comprised of right-wing patriots. So what if they just expand the Foreign
Right-wing
Legion, right?
patriots.
What if they just open that up more and say, hey, enlist and we'll give you citizenship? That could be bad because people from other countries, particularly from the third world, aren't going to have
the
nearly as hard a
third
time
world.
turning against the enemies of the state as American citizens would. And even they probably wouldn't even have that hard of a time now, depending on who it is and how the culture continues to change, both in terms of the military and the country as a whole, because they're trying to actively discourage people like us from joining the military or staying in it. Like, they can't outright purge it, just like they can't outright call for violence against us, but they can set things into motion that will achieve the same results. They're doing this with forced shots, forced mask mandates. They're changing names of the bases, erasing Confederate general names. They're breaking that bond.
fuck.
First it's the statues and the bases. Jefferson's gone. Lewis and Clark gone. Renaming all the bases. They're having meetings 2 to 3 times a year going over what extremism is, how to find it in others, what organizations they can't be a part of, what's indicative of an extremist.
Yep. I think facing your own systemic issues within the service is probably a good thing.
But what they consider to be an extremist are purely right-wing people, never leftists.
That's not true. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? There are extremist leftists, absolutely. That's a thing that happens. There's just not as many, John. There's a reason that more right-wing extremists are being brought up. Because there's more of you. There's a lot of dum-dums on the right wing. It's strange that only 15% of the population commits 50% of the right-wing extremism, John.
Only examples are young white dudes who are about this age. And at one point during one of the meetings I heard, there was this presentation and there was a captain up there who asked for examples. Someone said KKK. He said yes. Someone said Antifa, and he cringed at it, despite the obvious fact that the KKK doesn't even exist, whereas Antifa has active cells in every major city in the country and those god-awful recruitment ads. When those recruitment ads came out, you'd go around to the different rooms and see different clusters of soldiers. Like, what the is this? Everyone in the company is like, are you kidding me? They were completely embarrassed to wear the uniform that day, I was told.
He said a lot of things there. I guess KKK just...
And it's a total psyop. They want people like us to be out of the military. You don't belong here. That's the purpose of all of this. They want people like us to leave, to be demoralized. We own you. You're going to do our bidding. That's the point. You're going to get the shot. And even then, you're going to have to wear the cope shield. And if you don't, Article 15s, even though you said you wouldn't have to wear the cope shield if you got the shot. And if it's mandatory, they could potentially put you in military prison. Most realistically, they'd kick you out. And other than honorable discharge, so no veterans benefits, you have to report on all employment that you have that. So it kind of screws you for the rest of your life. So
the world's most sophisticated military is telling its soldiers that it wants them to be combat ready and protected against the global pandemic. or else they're not doing their duty to their country. And John's upset about that. Do you have a problem with them being forced to attend training too, John? Do you have a problem with them being forced to not have certain other medical ailments to maintain active service members? Seems odd. There are certain medical prerequisites that the military has, and you have to meet them or you can't be part of it. That's just what it is, man.
Ultimately, with this whole
Literally one of the early things you do in the military is get vaccinated. Yeah, of course. Especially if you go overseas and stuff. Like you're going to get vaccinations against things that like you can get. You get like 12 shots at once on like day 2 of boot camp. Exactly.
whole thing, I think you really just have to evaluate it for yourself, because the bad parts of it are that it encourages an unhealthy lifestyle. You're supporting and defending a country that murders 1 million of its children every year.
With abortion? Jesus Christ.
And you're existing as the militant arms of a globalist pedophile network who wishes to enslave our nation's people.
The globalist pedophile network? Holy shit. Look, there could be pedophiles in the government and shit, and not the military wouldn't be like, I don't see evidence that the military specifically is like the globalist pedophile regime apparatus by which they maintain their ability to do the pedophile stuff. Like, that's just fucking wild. Just way out there kind of shit, John. He just sort of said stuff. I'm pretty surprised that the Q conspiracy stuff just comes right out of his face now.
And what is good about the military, its culture, that seems to be dying. So I don't know. The National Guard.
The culture is dying. I like white guys like John that say the culture is dying, when the culture is just what the culture is. We have certain, not even one culture in America, but we have certain facets of culture in America that are all doing great. We have a thriving American culture. Like, what do you mean? America is a very diverse and wacky place. It's a wild experience to live in. A lot of different shit happening all the fucking time. That's kind of part of the American experience. It's kind of the culture. The culture of America has a lot to do with the very disparate pockets of individual cultures all around. Like, that's kind of what's cool about it. Like, you can go to any state and it feels like visiting a different country if you really, really think about it. Like, I know that Americans may not feel that way, but we're not different from like I know a lot of Americans think that the European Union is specifically different from America in a lot of ways. And there is a lot of difference because they have a little bit more sovereignty between their governments and stuff like that. But they still agree to a set of rules and shit when they were part of it. Anyway, and they share money. It's not that different. Like, going to Maine versus going to Texas, vastly different cultures. And I wish that Americans thought about travel within our borders a little bit more like that, because we are straight up just different people all over the country. And that's kind of the cool thing, man. Like, and right-wingers are really fucking anti that. It's pretty strange.
Hard. I know they get a hard time, but it might not be a bad idea. Like, right-wing states pulled theirs from Biden, and if they can establish a purely leftist national military, if we had right-wing
There's no leftist military.
militaries and state governments, that might help us, especially with like a national divorce, which is really the best option at this point. And even though the National Guard doesn't get the training that the rest do, I'm pretty confident that right-wing patriots would be more lethal with that training than a bunch of leftists and third world imports would be with better training. But I don't know. Don't take this as gospel.
What a weird fucking cope, dude. The most sophisticated military apparatus on the planet would get taken out by just some right-wingers with shoots. Wild stuff. I love the third world imports, absolutely, yeah.
I'm simply exploring
people that move here.
ideas. I really think
All of
the
them are
bottom
third world now.
line, though, is that this all comes down to political representation. It's all downstream from
Divorces are good. Yeah. What was that? King George or something? He got the church to agree that divorces were good, so now John agrees.
that. Like, the generals are selected by Congress. All the higher up leadership is politically selected. So you could have 90 right-wing colonels, but if the political leadership is leftist, they're going to pick the few that are leftist.
Devil says he has no idea what he's talking about. Natty Guard literally goes through all the same training. The Natty Guard has green berets.
too, even though they're in this, extreme minority. That's why you have generals now talking about how diversity is our greatest strength. So everything flows top down. We have to change our political representation first, and they would fix the military leadership. And that honestly would fix the military to where we wouldn't even have to worry about this anymore. Like if the top down guys in the military were our guys, the whole institution would change almost overnight, I've been told. So I guess those are my thoughts on it. They're trying to destroy the culture. The White House and DOD say that you can't report someone of the same gender for sexual assault or harassment anymore because they said it would be used to bully gay people. They shut down open prayer. They call it proselytizing. They want your social media. They want your emails. They're citing the NDA in battalion meetings, claiming that you can arrest someone for speaking out against the federal government. All of this, in addition to what we've already discussed. Then they're providing our...
Like General Flynn comes to mind, right? Am I stupid? Like, that guy's a full-on QAnon conspiracy nut now. He was in the military? What do you mean?
Supposed enemies with literal cash, equipment, etc., just to keep them in the fight. Here's a good example. When a Black Hawk goes down, there's a certain piece of equipment that you are instructed to take out before leaving it, so it can't be used by the enemy. Even if it means using your water, phosphorus grenade, whatever, you make sure it's done. We did not do that.
He saw Black Hawk down?
With any of the equipment that we left behind. This was not a lack of planning. This was done completely intentionally. The lack of planning was the planning. Everyone I spoke with said that if they could go back, they would not join. They would find training elsewhere because the government you're contracting your body and life to hates you.
Yeah. Surprise. I love that he waxed poetic for 18 minutes about how the government is actually really good and the military is glorious. And then he finishes his dissertation on that with, and actually everybody who said the military is glorious and went there said that they would not go through that again. John, it sounds like the military sucks.
They want you gone. And it recalls the old Solzhenitsyn quote. We know they're lying. They know they're lying. They know we know they're lying. We know they know we know they're lying, but they are still lying. So what happens when the hostile and illegitimate state mobilizes its monopoly on violence? Every communist regime in history has purged the military of political opposition. Ours are no different. And as we said in the last video, everything that would need to be put into place for something really bad to happen is being put into place. But just know you will be held accountable. There are at least 75 million people just like us. We're not just going to disappear. Moreover, we have God on our side. We have goal line defense up at the gates. You guys are going to be humbled at his feet, whether you currently acknowledge it or not.
Humbled at God's feet, whether you acknowledge it or not. That is weird. Like, look at the confidence on his face. It's such a wild fucking world to live in, man. It's okay. God has nice feet. God would probably have the most perfect feet. They would probably do. I think God, if God exists, objectively speaking, because he is perfect in every way, God has the sexiest feet in the universe. And frankly, if you don't come when you see God's feet, I think that makes you a sinner. Like, I really think that, like, it would be, you wouldn't be revering God nearly enough if when you saw his perfect feet, you didn't just sploot in your pants.
I've been reading my Bible a lot more recently.
Have you?
I hadn't been reading it very much for a while. And my cope was telling myself, hey, isn't the greatest faith just putting total trust in it without even knowing what it says? That was the cope. But we're reading it for the first time in a while, reading it through, 49 books in, still waiting for a miss. And I'm not going to find one. Everyone always asks for like a book recommendation list. I've got one on the website. But above all else, you really should just read the Bible.
Check.
The entire truth of our existence is in that book. Like, what else could be of greater importance? And if you've never read it
Wait, that might not make sense for some people. I did the Bible Reloaded for years. Word for word, we did the Bible. So, yeah. Got it, bud. Has a few misses. I may have documented those on YouTube.
By the way, you don't get to brush off what I'm saying. No, you are not entitled to your eye roll yet. Read it, follow it, and you will notice your life gets better. It is literally the owner's manual to your soul, but you've got that cued for when you're done with how to argue against economic regulations for dummies. So there's good news and bad news. The bad news is that we're all going to suffer. It's going to get worse than you and I are even comfortable imagining, and it's okay. We deserve it. This country deserves it. But the good news is that we're ultimately going to win, and our enemies who literally work for Satan and for Moloch, who are literally
Satan and Moloch. Okay, that's interesting that he's saying and Moloch. That was it was like an Assyrian god, if I remember correctly. And is also a god in D&D. The book of Leviticus brings it up. It was the I'm not sharing. The this one. The idol of Moloch. I guess we got a vroom vroom outside. Canaanite. Traditionally, Moloch has been understood as referring to the Canaanite god. However, since 1935, scholars have debated on whether or not the term refers to a type of sacrifice on the basis of a similar term, also spelled MLK, which means sacrifice in the Punic language. The second position has grown increasingly popular, but it remains contested. So, it might not even be the name. Like in the Hebrew Bible, it might not even be a proper noun, like describing the god. It might just mean sacrifice. But anyway, Moloch isn't a real existent deity. It's just a Canaanite god. But if you do say 5e, I'm just saying you might get a little bit something different, and you get a little bit kind of cool. Like this is actually kind of cool. You know what I'm saying? Moloch has a kind of a cool little backstory. Still doing some vroom vrooms out there, huh? Okay, cool. Moloch was the archdevil of the nine hells that serves as Beelzebul's viceroy in Malborg before being exiled after the reckoning. See, it's got a lot of cool lore and real dope art. Look at that. Wow. Pretty sweet. Also has a scourge whip. That's pretty cool. It's pretty rad, you know? Look at that. Moloch wielding his scourge. Wow. Anyway.
Possessed by demons are going to end up burning in hellfire for eternity. So that's kind of funny. I don't want to say I take pleasure in that. It's at least amusing. It sounds outlandish too, but that's the case, by the way. Like if you're a Christian and you read your Bible, that is what it says very clearly is the case. So in summary, study your Bible, keep your rifle by your side, and as long as you do that, you will be okay regardless of anything that happens in between. Like in the end, you will be okay and we'll all make it. Because
they'll die and then they'll go to heaven? Okay, all right. I'm not watching his outro. He is a strange lad, isn't he? John is a strange lad. What a psycho! So, John started with, should we join the military? Said the military was dope and filled with a fraternity of cool 80% right-wingers, but also said military is whack and nobody should join it and it's just a bunch of left-wing cucks. And then he said, don't worry about it. Just keep your rifle next to your bed along with your Bible. Read your Bible. Have your rifle. You'll be fine in the end. I just want John to go to a military base and say this stuff. That's what I want. Tell you what, John, I will start reading my Bible like a religious person if you go to the military and join it. How about that? Because then I'll believe in Jesus. I'll believe that Jesus is guiding you in this way. Okay? I'll become devout. He's really charging off the deep end. Yeah, he's John's having a year. John's having a year. Wow. I'm just glad that he has some popularity, but like the things he's saying are not like mainstream popular in the right wing. Nor will they be, because it offers too much restriction to people. You know what I mean? Pretty strange. Anyway, that's the end of the John Doyle video. Thanks, John, for all the good content. What a good boy.